and in other words, if this 94%, most of them, probably I did not have these related sicknesses here, and they probably would have survived this COVID situation, because as you can see, 31 million, just less than a million are dead. I mean that most of them are probably healthy. So we are here to talk about talk about health matters, health issues. If we take very seriously, we would stay and live longer, even in spite of this COVID times that we are in. So I want us all today. Today is going to be an interactive session. We can, as the speaker starts, at any point in time, if you feel like asking any question now, you can just raise your hand, or just just let notify us. We just let you ask the question. So it's an interactive based discussion that Frederick is going to have with us this evening. So without wasting too much time, we'll call on our brother Frederick to start with that. So Frederick, this is Grace, Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Grace Congregation. So we are Praise Church at Community 11, and we are the Grace Congregation, and this is a Young Adults Fellowship. This fellowship is for people that range between the ages of 30 to 40. So please, you're welcome. Please take over.
Thank you so much, my brother Jeff. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad to meet everyone. I wanted to share my content, but it looks like it says only the host can share.
Oh, okay. The host is here. I think, sorry, Mark is here. Mark, if you are there, I share something with you. And if you can share it for us, or if you can allow our brother to share it, we would appreciate it very, very much.
Ready to go.
Either way is fine.
So Mark, let us roll, okay? Okay.
Yes.
So that's just a guide. Okay, thank you, Mark.
All right. Thank you. So, our topic is on diabetes. I don't think there's anyone on this platform, on this meeting, who hasn't heard of diabetes. And if you haven't, then today you are going to hear about diabetes. Next slide. So as we go through, like Jeff rightly said, what I'm going to do is, usually for my presentations, I like to make it as basic as possible. So I don't mean to patronize anyone or undermine anyone. So whether my audience is made of professors or it's made of class 1 children, I like to explain things very basically. And then secondly, like he said, you can stop me at any time to... You can actually stop me at any time to ask questions or contributions, or if I've erred somewhere, you can also correct me. I want it to be interactive. I don't want it to be boring, okay? And above all, note that this particular session is a wake-up call. It's a reminder. It's not meant to be a lecture. It's not meant to be medical consultation. And so everything we are discussing is actually meant to, top of mind, bring your mind to the issues, the pertinent issues for our health and then our well-being. Next slide. So this is me. This is Frederick. All right. So in case you are on this, back. Yes, thank you. In case you are in this meeting and you are wondering why we are going to talk about diabetes, even though a lot has been said about diabetes, these are the reasons. These are the reasons I want to give you, and I hope they'll be convincing enough. Number one, if you look at the picture there, it is, pardon the graphic nature, but we are in, a health discussion. So that is my excuse. The picture you are seeing there is a Ghanaian patient with what we call a diabetic foot. Literally, the foot is getting rotten, but she's alive. Now, this can happen to any one of us in this meeting today. Let me repeat this. The reason why we are discussing this topic, diabetes, is because this particular situation that you are seeing here can happen to any one of us. Okay? Statistics will tell us that 1 in 4 adults have diabetes. How many are we here today So assuming we are about how many? 10. Basically, assuming we are about 10, what it just says is that about 2 of us either have the diabetes or will get it in our adulthood, in some stage of our adulthood. That is how serious it has become. Diabetes is one of the conditions we call chronic conditions, silent killers, and it has become increasingly prevalent in our part of the world. Our part of the world where people are starving, are still very hungry. Our part of the world where we are still battling both ends of malnutrition, undernutrition and overnutrition. Diabetes is becoming very increased. Once upon a time, they used to call diabetes rich people's disease or condition. Now it is with all of us. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, your educational status, your religious status, whether you're a friend of God or not, whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, you're an old person, whether you're full of wisdom or not, you stand a risk of getting diabetes. We'll go through that. Now, amongst the people who have diabetes, it's said that 1 out of 4 of them do not even know they have it. And about 40% of diabetic children do not know they have diabetes. Okay, about 40% of children with type 2 diabetes don't even know they have diabetes. All right. Okay, so let's move on. Next slide. Now let's start to talk about it. What is diabetes actually? Like I said, I would like to explain it basically. So let me start from the beginning. In the beginning was the word. When you eat food, any food at all, from the mouth, from entering your mouth throughout, the body starts to break it down. That's what we call the digestive process. Now, when the body breaks down any food at all, it breaks it down into its simplest components that can be used to build up cells or to repair cells, okay? Depending on which part of your body those building blocks, those nutrients, we call them nutrients, are being absorbed into, okay? Number 2, we have different food groups, right? Now the carbohydrates, like the banku and akple, the bread and all the carbo. When you break down the carbo, the simplest unit is glucose, but usually we call it sugar. Okay, let's bear in mind that there's a difference. The sugar we know is actually made up of complex molecules. When you break down the sugar that we know, you end up with glucose. Okay, when you take fruits, vegetables, most of them, you break it down, you end up getting glucose. When you eat any carbohydrate food, you get glucose. Now, the body uses glucose as energy source. It uses it as energy source for the metabolism. When we say metabolism, we are just talking about the body's process to keep you alive, whether it is building cells or it is breaking down, worn out tissues, etc. Whatever it is, that's the metabolic process, right? Okay. Now, bearing that in mind, what does that mean? As soon as your body breaks down the carbo into the basic glucose, it is absorbed into the blood, so it is flowing in the blood. Now, the problem here is the body or the blood needs to regulate a certain amount of these nutrients, whether it is the glucose or it is the amino acids or whatnot. Okay, it needs to regulate the amount in the blood. It shouldn't be too much, it shouldn't be too little. If it is too little, what happens? It means that your cells will not get the energy they require for functioning. Imagine if your brain cells do not get the energy it needs for functioning, what happens to you? Okay. You can imagine what will happen if your brain doesn't get enough glucose, enough, sugar. You start to feel dizzy. Well, that's what we call hypoglycemia. So God in his wisdom created us in such a way that we have chemical messengers that are always available to ensure this balance. One of them is insulin. Insulin is a hormone or a chemical messenger that will immediately help to take glucose from the blood into your cells. Usually, it will give preference to certain types of cells: brain cells, your cardiac cells, cells of your organs that need to be functioning, and then cells of your muscles before other cells like your fat cells, etc. Okay. Now, if it happens that by some design, your body either cannot produce the glucose so that it will absorb it cannot produce the insulin to take the glucose into the cells, and so the amount of your glucose in your blood is very high. That is when we say you have diabetes. It has to be something that has been diagnosed through a test and consistent. That is when you have diabetes. Let's now look at the types of diabetes. I hope this basic explanation of diabetes is clear. Diabetes basically is talking about you having excessive amount of the glucose in your blood. It's not entering your cells for some reason. That is diabetes, okay, in simple terms. Next slide, please. So there are three main categories of diabetes. Like the commonest are three main ones. There are others, but the commonest are the type 1, which is also an autoimmune. Autoimmune means that your immune system, your system that is supposed to protect you, it can happen that some malformation or malfunction occur, and then the cells that are supposed to produce the insulin are damaged. The pancreas, the cells in your pancreas that is supposed to produce the insulin is damaged, and so your body can't even produce the insulin. So you don't have insulin. This is very common amongst children. That's the type 1 diabetes. What this means is that if a child is born and diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, they have to constantly inject insulin on a daily basis. Okay, next slide. So they have to, throughout their lives, they have to be injecting insulin to perform the function. Okay, now type 2 diabetes occurs where the insulin is present. All right, so in one instance, your pancreas can produce the insulin, but for some reason, that insulin is not working. Your cells are resistant to the functioning of the insulin. This is how I liken type 2 diabetes. Okay, imagine you being stranded in the middle of the ocean, the sea, and you are thirsty. Can you picture that situation? You can't drink the salt water or you even die faster, right? That is how type 2 diabetes looks like. Your blood has so much glucose and yet your cells are starving because the insulin that is supposed to do that function cannot do its function. And it's been known that this is a condition common in adults, especially those who are overweight or obese, mostly obese people. Next slide, please. Then we have the third one, which is gestational diabetes. This is diabetes that occurs during pregnancy. Okay, now, physiologically, God created us in such a way that if a woman gets pregnant, she has to take care of the needs of two people, herself and then the baby. In a lot of instances, priority is given to the baby. So there are hormones that are produced, extra hormones that ensure that this baby gets priority. So the glucose that is roaming in the blood, it has to enter the placenta and then the baby will get some. It's been known that sometimes it can happen that those hormones overwork. And so it limits the mother's cells from absorbing glucose, like enough glucose. And what happens is that the mother ends up having excessive amount of glucose in the blood. And in some cases, the baby, you know that a lot of the glucose is going to the baby. So the baby also becomes very big. We call them macrosomic babies. And these babies can end up being prematurely born with all the problems, or they are born too big. That's the issue with gestational diabetes. Usually they test for it around the 24th, 28th weeks of gestation. Now, the thing about gestational diabetes is that it's temporary. Most of the case, more than 60%, it will be, well, more than, the statistics vary. Some will say 60% and above. Some will say 40%. But ideally, even if a mother gets gestational diabetes, after delivery, it should resolve back to normal. However, there are some who will still have, it continues. They progress into type 2 diabetes. That's very sad. That's very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. You bring life into this world and the whole process gives you diabetes, long-term chronic condition. That's very unfortunate. Very, very sad. And so if you know any woman who is pregnant, there's a time for you to help. A lot of the time when they go for antenatal visits, when mothers go for pregnant women go for antenatal visits, these are some of the routine checks they do just to ensure that there's no gestational diabetes. And if there is, they can manage it. But for the stubborn, in quotes, stubborn women and ladies who do not go for antenatal, especially in rural areas where teenage pregnancy is high, some of them are afraid of stigmatization, so they hide their pregnancy till late. They're about to deliver, that's when it's seen. Some instances, it's even the parents who even hide their children because for some reason, the lady didn't get married before pregnancy. So because of religious stigma, in quotes, they are keeping their pregnancy home. They don't go for antenatal. Anyway, so next slide, please. So gestational diabetes is supposed to be temporary, but it can develop into full-blown diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Now, what are the symptoms? How do you know you have diabetes? And remember, like I said, there are some people who will not know they have diabetes for two reasons. The first reason is that these symptoms I am showing might not be very pronounced in some people. You may not necessarily get all these symptoms, increased hunger, increased thirst, etc. And in some people, they may get some of these symptoms, but they will attribute them to other factors. A case in point is weight loss. Some people will get sudden weight loss, and the first thing they'll say is, I am overworking, I am stressed. Others will get blurry vision, and they will not even think about it being related to diabetes. Extreme fatigue. Somebody might get extreme fatigue very frequently, and they will attribute it to, the fact that they are the hardest workers on the block. Some extreme thirst and then hunger. These are just general symptoms. Like I said, you may not get all of them. Let's look at some specific symptoms too. Next slide, please. In men, it may happen that you would have decreased sex drive. This is unfortunate. No man wants this. But you see, what happens with diabetes, like I said, is that the amount of glucose in the blood is a lot. So it changes the acidity of the blood. Okay. When that happens, it causes problems. Okay. There are some, okay, let me even explain this first. The blood pressure alone can even increase because you have more sugar. When you have more sugar in the blood, I don't know if we can remember our elementary osmosis. Osmosis is when water is moving into, through a semi-permeable membrane into high concentration. So instead of the normal loss of water, through the kidneys, through sweat and all that, you tend to absorb a little bit more water into your blood, increasing the blood pressure. The other thing too is that, there are bacteria that love sugar. So if you have a cat, imagine a diabetic having a cat, and the blood that is going to the cat is full of a lot of sugar, a lot of glucose. If it is infected, the tendency is that the infections would also multiply. And so such a sore heals very slowly. The other thing too is that it's been known that it can actually cause the death of some of your nerves, okay? Or the very thin blood vessels can actually die. All this can cause your limbs to develop what we call the diabetic foot, sores that do not heal, or your leg that gets too numb. And so you have to watch out for these. If you're somebody who gets frequent sores that do not heal, or your leg gets numb very frequently, or loss of sensation in your foot, your feet, please check all these. For women too, it's been known that some will get increased urinary tract infections, yeast infections, dry, itchy skin. We know how women always like to have very beautiful skin. And so it's possible that they may be getting the dry, itchy skin, and then first remedy is lotions. I know there are 1,000,001 different lotions being advertised for beautiful, glossy, shiny skin. What you are doing is you're only covering the symptoms until it gets worse. So if you start to get that, you must seek medical advice. Next slide, please. All right, so now let's look at the nutritional relationship with diabetes. The number one is that for me as a nutritionist, I always recommend you eat fruits and vegetables. If not for anything, bear in mind this: fruits and vegetables and whole grains contain what we call fiber, whether it is soluble fiber or insoluble fiber. Now, fiber cannot be digested. What it means is that it adds bulk to the bolus or whatever you eat. And so it makes it's such that the glucose is being released into your blood a little slower compared to if you're eating foods that don't have fiber. And that is one advantage that you really need if you're prone to diabetes. One thing I forgot to mention is that another risk factor for diabetes is family history. If your parent or sibling has diabetes, chances are that you could also get diabetes. So if you are in that category, or you are overweight, or you are obese, then please, you have no excuse for not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. A lot of the time when we talk about fruits and vegetables, people start thinking about going to buy expensive fruits. It doesn't need to be so. You can always get the fruits that are available. It's not always grapes and apples. You can get mangoes if they are in season, pawpaw if they are in season, akosia tuntum if it's in season, atadri if it's in season. The list is long, especially if you come from my part of the country in the north. The fruits are in abundance. Make it a habit to eat a fruit a day at least. All kinds of fruits that you can lay your hands on. After the vegetables, I am talking about the salads. I'm talking about the soupy vegetables. Make it a habit to add it. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, this is where I want us to look at specifics. Studies have shown that people who are vitamin D deficient have a higher risk of diabetic foot, or it can actually increase the case. If you have diabetic foot, it increases it. Okay, where do you get vitamin D from? Vitamin D is produced by your body. The skin uses the cholesterol in your body to produce vitamin D with the help of UV radiation from the sun. Basically, this means is that you have to expose your skin to the sun. I know this sounds, coy, but the fact is a lot of us unconsciously do not expose our bodies to the sun. Now, picture a typical hard-working civil servant who wears his long suits and tie early morning because you need to beat Accra traffic. You leave before the sun rises. You are in your car or public transport, and then you are in your building because it's a very big building, and you virtually stay in that building till 5, 6 when the sun has gone down. You're back into the car and then you're coming back home. So throughout the day, you haven't had an opportunity to even be exposed to the sun for up to 1 hour. And this continues because it becomes routine lifestyle. Or in worst case scenarios where we have the elderly who are confined to the home. Probably, of course, you love your elderly person so much that the person is in ambient, air-conditioned room for a very long time. With time, they are exposed to vitamin D deficiency, especially if they are not taking nutritional supplements that have vitamin D. What does vitamin D do? Vitamin D, we know, it actually helps with calcium functioning, strengthening your bones. It actually helps with cell metabolism, a lot of functions. So this is a wake-up call for all of us. Excessive alcohol can damage your pancreas. So the next time you meet an alcoholic, please remind them that if not for anything at all, their excessive alcoholic consumption can actually increase their chances of developing diabetes. Their excessive alcohol consumption can increase their chances of getting diabetes if they don't want a leg or an arm or their toes to be amputated. If they don't want to have to depend on insulin injection or something, glucagon injection or some other form of injection for the rest of their lives, remind them to moderate their alcohol consumption, okay, or even avoid it. A lot of the foods that you eat will ferment and even produce alcohol in your body. So basically, you might not even need it. Some people will say, oh, I'm drinking red wine because they say red wine is good for your heart. When I hear that as a nutritionist, I smile because it's an exaggeration. Those are nutritional exaggerations that prone you to some effects. After the presentation, remind me to actually speak more about red wine and hearts and all those things. Now, this is a question I want to throw to the rest of them are questions, okay? I want contributions. Does sugar cause diabetes? Open floor, please.
Hey, sugar cause diabetes.
If I may,
Yes, please.
from what I've understood so far, it's not just sugar, but it looks like your body's ability or
Okay.
what results in diabetes. Not exactly the fact that you're eating sugar, but it's because your body is unable to process the sugar acids. That is how come you end up with diabetes.
Do we agree? Anyone with a contrary opinion? It's a discussion. What do we think? Thank you. I appreciate your contribution. Does sugar cause diabetes? Well, that's what I grew up hearing. Anyway.
Let me add.
Yes.
If so, from what you are also saying, even if you take sugar, but you're able to get it processed well out of your system, you may not necessarily get diabetes. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So if you are just taking the sugar, but you are doing everything to push it out again, that's what I'm thinking.
All right. I appreciate that. Anyone else? All right. So if you ask me a question like this, these are the answers I'll give. Does sugar cause diabetes? I'll say yes, on condition that if you do not know your diabetic status, probably you've never done the test, which is a very simple test, then I'll say yes, sugar can cause diabetes in you because for all you know, your blood sugar level is rising. It's just left with something small to tip it beyond redemption. I'll say no if you know your diabetic status, you are not diabetic, and you have a healthy routine exercise that helps you burn your sugar, then I'll say no. So it's actually a combination of all your answers. I don't know if anyone has a comment on that. If not, let's move to the next question. The next question says...
Sorry.
Yes, please.
So is that to say that...
Yeah.
My question is, can I sugar and can one person eat amount of sugar and become diabetic, and then someone else eats the same amount and then still not be diabetic?
Yes, please. The answer is a direct yes. Okay. Now, in the first place, one thing you should bear in mind is that when we talk about quantities, we are talking about a relative term. For me, I may, because, okay, let me start the answer this way, all right? When we are born, our taste buds starts to develop slowly, okay? If you've ever tasted breast milk, you understand what I'm saying. It's not sweet. Breast milk is not sweet. The men smiling, I hope you are not supposed to have tasted it. Breast milk is for the baby anyway. If you've tasted breast milk before, you would see that it's not very sweet. We actually start to develop and grow our taste bud. I mean, the baby's taste buds, because we are introducing sweetness. I always say, as a nutritionist, the worst thing you can do to your child is to let their taste buds for sweetness grow. Okay? Because when that happens, it means that the tolerance for sweetness, and it's not just sweetness, sadness, saltiness, anything that has to do with the taste bud, it is programmed, it is trained, That is what, let me digress a little. That is why various countries have different types of dishes. I know if you go to some parts of, Switzerland and all those places, they add syrup, sugars to a lot of their dishes. When you go and eat some of their dishes, you can't. Because that is how they've been programmed. There are some places too that their dishes are so sour prone that they've developed a tolerance for sourness, high level of sourness. Other places to saltiness. If they give you a dish, the salt to you, the salt is so much. Meanwhile, to them, it is normal. It's because from childhood, the taste buds are being programmed. Now, that being said, what it basically means is that if you're going to use too much sugar, too little sugar as an index, you may get it wrong, because my too much might not be your too much. So usually there are limits. World Health Organization will say, when it comes to free sugars that you add, it shouldn't be more than 5 cubes in a day. But I would say, if you can avoid adding sugars in as much as possible, please do. If you are somebody who depends on a diet, maybe a breakfast meal that must add sugar, vary it in the week such that it's not consistent. Give your body breaks. Okay. Now back to your question. Yes, assuming you and I even take maybe 10 cubes of sugar at a go, we will metabolize it, we will break it at different rates. Because we have what we call basal metabolic rates. That is how our, all our organs that work whilst we sleep, they function differently. Some of us, our organs are more active, they burn a lot. And for others it burns a little slower. Now, there are others too, depending on their metabolic rate too, they tend to store fat very easily compared to others. I'm entering different conversations, but the long and short of it is that you and I will metabolize sugar differently. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to cut down on your sugar as much as you can, and that can be done with discipline and training with time. You can actually do that little by little, not gradual, otherwise you're not being realistic to yourself and you fail, but it's the same with anything that you want to cut out. It has to be gradual. Anyway, I don't know if your question is answered.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So another thing I forgot to mention was with diabetes in children is that, you see, one of the symptoms of diabetes is frequent urination. Okay. So you may notice a child who at a certain age, they start to bedwet all of a sudden, even though they've been trained. Well, of course, it could be that they are taking too much water before they sleep. But it could also, it's possible it could be an early symptom of diabetes. When you notice that, the first thing to do is to go for the test. Sometimes when you even go to a hospital, the pediatrician would even start to do those investigations. Okay. All right. So, second question, brown sugar versus white sugar, which one is healthier? The underlining word is healthier. Brown sugar versus white sugar, which one is healthier?
I've been told that it's brown sugar.
Okay, can you explain why?
I just take any. I just take any. I'm still yet to find out what makes it different, but so far, you always say the brown sugar is better. Yeah.
Anyone else, please?
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I'm also thinking brown sugar. The only problem with that is there are times where they actually brown the sugar. It's not brown sugar, it's white sugar that has been browned. So
which one?
They add all kinds of things. If it's color,
that sounds scary. That sounds ominous.
I don't know. Yeah, but sometimes they say brown sugar, or they'll say cane sugar, and it looks brownish. But I mean, I think the best for me is honey anyway. So I wouldn't even use either.
Oh, then I should have added honey. So let me expand it. Brown sugar, white sugar, honey. Which one is healthier?
I prefer honey.
All right. So I think I'll modify and add honey. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, any other person? Brown sugar, white sugar, honey. Which one is healthier? Or if you had to rank them in order of which one is healthier, how will you rank them?
My ranking will be based on what I've heard.
Okay.
They said, but so I can't give you any technical review. No.
Okay.
It would be the honey, brown, and then white.
All right. Okay. I appreciate your contributions. All right. So if you ask me, a nutritionist, the same question, I'll say none of them, and I'll say both of them. Now, I'll say none of them because if you are talking about healthier, I'll say talking about health. So health and wellness. It means that there should be a specific index you're using to measure the health. If your index is risk for conditions, I'll tell you all of them have the same level of risk for all the conditions that sugar has a risk for. All of them. Okay? If your index for measuring healthiness is what it gives to your body, I'll still say all of them are almost the same level. Now, let me clarify this. Okay? The difference between brown sugar and white sugar is that I know what I know about the typical brown sugar is they add molasses. Molasses in themselves are rich in a lot of micronutrients. Okay. And so they add it to the sugar to increase the micronutrients. Now, the problem here is that when it comes to nutrition, quantity matters so much. The amount of molasses added to the sugar to make it brown is so small that the effect, the net effect it will have on your health, I'm talking about net positive effect it will have on your health, might be negative compared to the net negative effect it will have. So, for example, if you are taking brown sugar because of the micronutrients from the molasses, then you are doing yourself a lot of harm. Okay, it's like drinking light soup because you are thirsty. You are thirsty and you decide to drink light soup. Well, there's some water in the light soup that would hydrate you a little, but if it is quenching the thirst, it's not going to help you. So what I'll say is, if you are taking brown sugar because you want to get the micronutrients in the molasses, then just go and get those micronutrients from major sources. And the micronutrients you get from the molasses is basically the vitamins and some of the minerals that you get in the same fruits and vegetables. So it's an exaggerated benefit that will not inure to the good of your health. So if you are cutting down on sugar, just cut down on sugar. It doesn't matter whether it's brown or white. All right. Now, contrary to popular belief, honey is made up of glucose, predominantly glucose. Predominantly 99% glucose. It's like syrup, making syrup, sugar syrup. So the same applies. If you're taking honey because of health benefits, then you'll be disappointed because the amount of gallons of honey you need to consume to get those health benefits might not be worth it. Now, that being said, okay, we also take food for different reasons. Maybe if you are taking it as a condiment. So, for example, you are somebody who struggles with appetite, and so honey will give you a better appetite. If you are using it as a condiment, then that's fine. Or if psychologically you feel like taking brown sugar gives you better peace of mind, well, that's hallelujah, that's fine. You get it? That psychological effect is very important for even how your body reacts. Your mindset actually determines how your body should react to the food you eat. An example is a mother who is afraid her breast milk will not flow. Because of that fear and anxiety, the breast milk will not flow. That's very established. The body should not produce the breast milk because of anxiety. It's the same with metabolizing some nutrients. Some people, when they are so stressed, their metabolism is notched off a little and it might affect that. So if you have peace of mind, it helps you metabolize nutrients better. Peace of mind is very good. Some people put on weight not because of good living, but because they are stressed. That's just an aside. I don't know if there are any questions on this before we move to the next two.
I have a question, please.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I didn't show my face before.
Oh,
so my question is,
yeah.
Now you're really scaring me about the honey.
Scaring you? You shouldn't be scared.
Because you're saying it's glucose. What does that mean? Like, even if it's natural and natural from the bees, still, it's still glucose.
Yes, it is. It's still glucose.
Why is that?
It's like asking me whether sugarcane water is glucose or not, which is yes. And your question is like asking me why is sugarcane water predominantly glucose.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the bottom of it. And just to make myself feel a bit better for using honey all those while.
There are some questions we don't have answers to. But one thing I know about the honeybee is that, they produce two different foods. Okay. They have the royal jelly, and then the honey.
Okay.
The royal jelly is given so when the egg of the bee hatches, now whether that larva will turn into a worker bee or a queen bee depends on what they give. The difference between a worker bee and a queen bee is that the worker bee is the worker bee lives for a few, if I'm not mistaken, just a few weeks or even days, and then they die. Their lifespan is extremely short and they are very small. And then the queen bee lives for longer, way longer, and it is very big. And the difference is that the queen bee is given royal jelly, Royal jelly is specially made with pollen extracts and mix and all that. And then the larva that is given only honey develops into the worker bee. That is something that is known about the metabolism. Okay. So to answer your question, well, honey, the good thing I would say is that if you get honey from a good source, then you can rest assured that you are eating something that's not contaminated.
Yeah.
You get it? It's not contaminated, so you are not afraid of other things. And it's also been known that honey is very sterile. Bacteria do not easily thrive in honey.
Okay.
It's very, very sterile. Compared to maybe white or brown sugar that can be contaminated. Now it's like I'm marketing honey over brown or white sugar.
Yeah.
No. So I'm just trying to let you see basic difference.
Okay.
But from the nutritional point of view, they are about the same. But of course, like I said, there are so many other things we consider when you are looking at health and wellness, safety, hygiene, all those things count. Your peace of mind also.
Okay,
counts.
so now I can eat brown sugar or white sugar, but it's all about quantity. That's what you're saying.
It's all about quantity and quality.
Okay.
Yeah, just be sure that you're 100% confident about the quality.
The sauce. Okay.
Yeah. Not even just the sauce, the storage and all that. I remember there was a time somebody had brown sugar, and when I smelled it, I realized that it had become damp. I don't know how the person kept it, but it had become damp. And because it's brown, if it is white sugar and it is going bad, it changes color. But because it's brown, it's going bad, you don't even see that it's changing color. And so we are wondering what the person's eating. So quality, quantity all comes. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other question? Then we move to the other question that asks, are there herbs that cure diabetes? So this one, in order not to waste time, I'll answer. The answer is maybe, but will I advise you to use herbs to cure diabetes? I'll say no. The reason is that, you see, when you come to the hospital, one thing we are experiencing a lot is that a lot of people, and this thing, almost every doctor or nurse you speak to might attest to this. There are people coming into the hospital with advanced cases of diabetes. They come and they have to amputate their legs, or there's a problem with the kidney. Diabetes can actually cause kidney problems. The thing about diabetes is that it can cause almost any part from head to toe, any part of your body to malfunction. And they come in with complicated conditions because they were using herbs. Now, I'm not saying herbs are not efficacious. Oh, no. Even the orthodox medicines we have were made from extracts, oxalates and whatnot from plants, right? But the difference between the orthodox and the herbs is dosage. How much is enough, and how much will put an extra strain on your organs that have to do that extra work of getting rid of the excess. You know that your liver, your kidneys are supposed to detoxify your blood, so to speak, putting it simply. Now, if you are taking something that you can't be sure the dose, you are putting extra stress on these organs. You get it? So it might work for Ama and cause damage for Akosia. And so I will never, ever encourage you to use herbs as therapeutic means. You can use herbs, you can eat your moringa, you can eat your, which ones? See there, I can't even remember them.
Dandelion.
There are so many of them. Your dandelion, yes, you can eat them.
Aloe vera.
Thank you. As part of a regular healthy diet, but never to treat conditions. You may cause more harm than good because the dosage, like I said, cannot be 100%. Even the herbalists, like those who go to herbal schools, proper, They struggle with it. They struggle with some of them. They struggle with some. So this is just my caveats. All right. I don't know if there's a question. Then I move to eggs and diabetes.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, yes,
you know
yes.
the is it a spice or plant called fennel or fenugreek?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, then I'll ask. Thank you.
Someone on the platform might be able to help. So please still ask.
No, I was just asking because you were talking about not using herbs
Okay.
to cure anything or to help anything.
Okay,
And
okay.
I was just trying to find
I get
out
you.
should I say, some of the benefits of fennel or fenugreek in relation to breastfeeding.
Oh,
That's what I was
wow.
asking.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, let me give you. Yes, Daddy, we are calling you. The general answer I'll give, if it has to do with breastfeeding, is this. There are two things. When it comes to breastfeeding or breast milk production. The first is that it's been known that even a malnourished mother, a mother who is as slim as a pencil, can produce adequate quantity and quality of breast milk. So you don't need any extra augmentation. I mean, what nutrition, special nutrition to produce quality breast milk or quantity of breast milk. All that you need is the child should be able to latch properly, the child should be able to suckle, and then the mother should be healthy enough, no health condition, to let the hormones do that let down reflex, and the breast milk will be produced. So you don't need extra foods, whether whatnot, to produce quantity and quality of breast milk. However, it's been known that some flavors, and I'm highlighting flavors of certain foods, certain spices can actually be transmitted from the mother into the breast milk. Some.
Like?
So that is what they are still investigating, actually. It's still being investigated. Some of those reports are anecdotal, some are still being investigated. But there are some mothers who would tell you that, after eating a lot of pepper or a lot of something, high spice, something, they can even taste in the breast milk. And that is true. There are some flavors that can actually be transmitted into breast milk. Okay. And then, of course, some drugs as well. There are some drugs as well that can actually, if you are breastfeeding, you don't even take the drugs. So that's the thing with breastfeeding. But it's a whole discussion we can have another time.
Thank you.
Okay. You're very welcome. And then eggs and diabetes. Now, there was a study that was done, a very long-term study that showed that diabetics, people who had diabetes, not non-diabetics, but people who had diabetes, were not advised to take eggs because there was an association between death, and consumption of eggs, more than 10, I think it was about 10 eggs in a week amongst diabetics. Now, one thing research studies are meant for is to guide us. It's not a cause and effect relationship. It is a risk and effect relationship. It doesn't say that if you are diabetic and you eat eggs, you will die. It just shows that a group of researchers did a very big study, and they showed that amongst those who died, it was commonly found that they were eating more than 10 eggs in a day. Of course, there could be other factors that were adding to their mortality. So what does that tell me as a nutrition? I'll say if you are diabetic, limit your egg intake. Less than 10 eggs in a week. And as a nutritionist, what I'll even say is, whoever you are, one thing you can do for your body is to give your body breaks. And I'm talking about people who have food what's the word? Food addictions. Okay. You know, God in his wisdom created us in such a way that we are able to maintain balance in a lot of states, unless you are totally off. Some cancer has ravaged your body so much, or some disease. You can actually come back to balance. Okay, so for example, if you're someone who loves whatever food, give yourself breaks. It shouldn't be every day. And I'm saying this because I know people who eat specific foods 24/7. I know somebody who eats TZ 24/7 because that's how he was brought up. I know somebody who eats akpele 24/7. I know somebody who eats rice 24/7. In fact, there was even a mate of mine who eats rice, breakfast, lunch, supper. Okay, that is very unhealthy. That's very, very unhealthy. Give your body breaks. That is why it's good to always have variety in your diets. Give your body breaks. No matter what it is, give your body breaks so that in case there were any toxicants or excessive nutrients from whatever diet it is, your body can restore some small balance before it is reintroduced. Okay. Now, what's the way forward? It's straightforward. Number one is the fact that you must, it's a matter of must. If you are with me today and you don't have any routine exercise regimen, I beg you, for the sake of your grandchildren who want to play with you, and for the sake of your spouse who will be burdened with taking care of you if you are ill, please start a regular exercise. We underrate exercise so much, but it is one of the best ways to keep healthy. And I'm highlighting sustainable because don't go and start anything that you can't continue. You cause yourself more harm. I remember people who would rush and go and start gym registration, go and pay 500 CDs or something. Peer pressure, or is it to impress Sumpo, or some motivational speaker spoke to them and then some fire was lit. They went and registered in a gym. Now they couldn't continue. When you do that, you put stress on your mind because you are feeling guilty, you're feeling sad, you're feeling depressed that something that people are doing you couldn't do, and it's going to come back to you. So start slow, be realistic, get the support of your family, and start an exercise you can sustain. I would usually recommend skipping if you can get, if you're a female, get a sports bra and then start some few skips, or start walking depending on your situation. Long distance walking, brisk walking, then you can start with the jogging and all that. Before you realize it becomes routine, it becomes habitual. Not quickly go and start pushing weights, hand press, or some lie in their rooms and be doing hand pressing or stomach exercise that they can't continue. If you do that for some time. And then the worst one is dieting. Please don't go on any special diet if you can't sustain it. If it is a diet for a specific health condition, that is different. But because you want to be healthy, then you start dieting, you can't sustain it. Please don't do that. It should be sustainable. Number two, stay hydrated. I can't overemphasize this enough. I can't really stress this enough. Hydration is the number one key to life. Literally. And when I say hydration, what I mean is that don't wait till you're thirsty. Don't wait till you're parched. What I've done is very unhealthy. I've spoken for more than an hour and I didn't even take one sip. You see, I started to cough. I'm causing a lot of harm to my body. That's so bad. Don't be like me. If you're somebody who's, by virtue of the nature of your job, you talk a lot, take water, because as I'm speaking, I'm losing water through perspiration that I can't see, through spitting that I can't see, and all that. Okay, hydrate, take sips, make it a habit of taking sips. I'm not saying drink gallops of water that will cause you to be using the washroom every day. Please, no. Don't do that. Regulate, limit, and if possible, eliminate free sugars. Free sugars are sugars you are going to add. A lot of the foods we have already have sugars. Soft drinks, I'll say, please, if you can make it occasional, that would be good. And most of us here, by virtue of our age, at least, we've seen a lot in life. Now we are adults and slowly becoming old ladies and old men. What that means is that we've stopped growing. We've actually stopped growing. So your body is now doing maintenance. It's doing maintenance work. It's not doing building work. So if you can reduce the amount of your free sugars, and even though we didn't talk about it, animal protein, that is meat, please reduce it. Regulate your alcohol intake. Now I talk about the red wine. Please. It is true that red wine is produced from fruits and it might have some antioxidants that might be healthy, that might be helpful to your heart. But like I said, it's about dose, it's about quantity. How much of those flavonoids, those antioxidants is in red wine? You may have to take a full bottle of red wine to be able to get those benefits. And by the time you've had the benefit from the quantity of alcohol red wine taking, don't forget that red wine has alcohol. Your body would have actually suffered some effects from alcohol. Alcohol helps your body lose. Alcohol increases water loss from your body, basically, and it has so many other effects. All right. Then watch your weight gain. I am saying watch weight gain. I didn't say lose weight. I am saying watch weight gain. So please don't misquote me. I didn't say lose weight. I'm saying watch weight gain. What I'm basically saying is that watch it when you start to gain weight. Where you are right now, if you can maintain it, perfect. If you can lose some to the specific level, do so. Now, let me take some. I know we are behind time, but let me take a little bit time to talk about this. Every one of us here, if I am to ask you, what is your waist to hip ratio? You should be able to tell me. So if I get an opportunity to meet you again, I should be able to get the answer to that. What is your waist to hip ratio? For females, you shouldn't have a waist to hip ratio above, I think, 1. About 1. And then for males, they'll say about 0.8. I hope I haven't intertwining, but basically from 0.8 to 1, your waist to hip ratio should be around there. Why is waist to hip ratio important? It's important because a lot of these chronic conditions we talk about every day, heart conditions, organ conditions, diabetes, etc., they are associated with excessive abdominal fat. And so if you can ensure that your abdominal fat is within normal range or it is reduced, so much the better for you. And above all, make routine screening and examination a habit. You remember the statistics I gave? Any one of us here can develop diabetes at any time. So even if you did the screening yesterday and you were negative, you are not home free. A few weeks, months down the line, you could still get it. So you have to make screening a habit. They'll check your fasting blood glucose level with a very simple machine, prick of the finger, small one. And you can always know your status, because once you know your status, the thing about that test is that it will show if you are pre-diabetic or not. Pre-diabetic. And as soon as you are pre-diabetic, you can solve it. Thank you, and I welcome more questions. That's the end of our session. I welcome more questions. Oh, you can ignore this. This is advertising my business. I do skills training, so please take it off. Questions,
Wonderful.
questions.
Thank you so much, Frederick. That was fantastic. As for me, I'm in trouble because I'll come there. So please, we are taking questions, Feel free to ask any questions or contributions as well.
Okay, let me give another an assignment. Is there any one of us here who has ever sat, based on their own evolution, free decisions, sat in front of a dietitian and then evaluated the quality of their 24-hour diet. Hello?
Hello, Frederick.
Yes, please. Did I go off?
No, I think he wants to ask a question.
No, you are not.
Please go ahead.
We can hear you. Prof, please go ahead.
Yes, please.
Prof, let's see your face. Why?
I'm with you, Prof.
If you won't ask, can I ask a question?
Okay, so let me state this. What I was saying was that please make it a point. Between now and the end of this year, make it a point to sit before a dietitian, not a nutritionist, a dietitian. Let them evaluate the quality of your regular 24-hour diet. Okay, you'll be surprised to learn a lot of things from just that evaluation. Sit before any dietitian, let them do that evaluation for you. Thank you. Please go ahead with your question.
Oh, I was just saying that I was making a comment that the ratio that you gave, you know, a lot of African women, the ratio is really off. And we can't do anything about it. It's genes.
Oh, no, that is very false.
No, I think you say it's to do with fat, abdominal fat. And I'm saying that majority of times, you see an African woman with, let's say, a bust 36 and a hip 46. And it's not their fault. It's in the genes. And it's got nothing to do with fat.
That is a misconception, you know?
No, I mean, I'm a fashion designer. And sometimes when you take certain measurements, you can't understand why it's working the way it is. You try as much as possible to figure out what it is. But bottom line is, we don't have the standard figures like the white people. They have the bust, and it's almost the same as the hip. And then the waist is like this. But us, maybe the stomach area, yes. But the other, I mean, I beg to differ a little bit. And I'm sure there are a lot of women on this platform that will agree with me. So the ratio need a bit off, kakra, but we'll do our best to stay within that one point something.
All right. So point made. Your point is well taken.
Thank you.
What I wanted to add to your point is that, you see, well, I'm a Christian, so I like saying a lot of things about God. God, in His wisdom, created at such a way that I don't know if you knew this, that a lot of health conditions that you know there are health conditions that are related to genes.
Yes.
But if your nutrition is being known now that if your nutrition is adequate from conception till the time you are, I think, about 2 years old, if your nutrition is optimum, a lot of those genes that you inherited can be switched off. So imagine you have the gene for hypertension, let me put it that way, or diabetes. If you are well fed from conception, which means the mother's nutrition is optimal, till the time you are 2 years old, that gene can actually be switched off. That is the beauty of God's intervention. So it's not automatic that a diabetic father or a hypertensive father or whoever it is would actually, transmit to the child, and that child will definitely grow and have that condition. No. That is one thing we have to know. Maybe one day we can find time to talk about nutrition from pregnancy to about 2 years so that we delve more on these issues. Since almost all of us are either parents or potential parents, we can just delve more on those topics. Okay. Now about African women and our figure. Well, you are right to understand, but the fact still remains that this is more socio-demographic than anything else. It's because of stereotypes, it's because of mental, the truth is most men would not want a very, very, very slim woman. So all those things influence
most African women, most African men.
All those things have influence on how we look anyway. So, but health-wise, you get my point. Please, Prof, back.
Not yet, but
I think Jocelyn
I have
say something.
Actually, I want clarity on the ratio because if we are saying 1, that means we expect the waist to be the same width as the hip.
Yeah.
Is that what is expected?
Yes. So that's why it's a range. It's actually a range from about 0.8 to 1, not above 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my second question, you did say we should not try to use herbs to cure diabetes. So can diabetes be cured in any way?
That unfortunately I do not know of a cure for diabetes. What I know for sure is that for a lot of people, it can be managed until the body heals. Until you get to a level where your blood sugar, I'm talking about the type 2 anyway, not the type 1. There have been instances where some people actually recover from type 2 based on medical interventions.
Okay.
Long-term medical intervention. They actually, for a long time, they don't have any of those conditions. And you see, like I stated, it's not just about your blood sugar level being high. That is a problem. It is what that high blood sugar level will cause in your body. That is the problem. And so once there's medical intervention, all those things can be gotten rid of. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are taking more questions.
Yeah.
Maybe about 3 or 4 more.
All contributions will be fine.
Yeah, all contributions, absolutely.
Yeah. Please, when are you going to do the topic about, when you think you can do the topic about from the pregnancy to the 2 years or 2? I'm just asking.
I'll ask Jeff.
Jeff, you have to arrange it quickly for us, please.
Yes, boss.
Thank you.
Auntie Joyce will give us a space and we'll do that. Okay, so any more questions?
Hello, Frederick.
Yes, please.
Prof.
Prof is back. Prof,
Frederick, so this is Joseph Abbey.
Okay.
So yes, Frederick, I was asking that if you have maybe excess of sugar in the body and you do water therapy for maybe some days, will it be able to really flush out the sugar contents from the body?
Well, yeah, it's possible. It's very possible because you see, when there's excess sugar in your blood, it's possible. But it's possible. Anything is possible. When there's excess sugar in your blood and you take a lot of water, you need to get rid of the excess water, right? So there are instances where some of that sugar will spill into your urine. That's why diabetics, their urine tastes sweet and come towards the urine. Yes. Diabetics, yeah. That's one. Locals used to use the ant tests for diabetes, and I think that's something else you can also watch out. If you urinate on the floor and ants come towards your urine, then please rush for the examination. So excess water can actually help you. The other way taking a lot of water will help is that, I told you, if the blood sugar level is very high, it draws water from your cells. It actually draws water from your cells. So if you actually take in water, you dilute it in quotes. So what they call osmolality, or the concentration is reduced. You reduce the concentration in quotes. You get it. So water therapy is a very good thing. It's very good. It's just that, it is usually relative. Some tend to overdo it. Because you are doing water therapy, you are just drinking copious amounts of water and you are peeing all the time. No. That's stressful. Okay.
Sorry. So stressful, but not bad, right? I mean, stress
is bad. Stress is bad.
I get that. That's having to frequent the washroom may be stressful, but I want to know if there's anything like drinking too much water.
Yes, there's drinking too much water. Yeah, I mean, there's something bad about drinking too much water. There was a time, I don't even remember, but somewhere in the US, people organized water drinking competition. And the winner died on the spot. Excess water. Hypovolemia, hypotension, excessive water in the blood. The winner died. So excess water too can be. And don't forget, like I said, it is your kidney. That is the main organ that will get rid of the excess water along with other solutes. So if you want to be giving your kidney too much work and you're not a young, healthy person, children have healthy, young kidneys. But if you are growing old like you and myself, you don't need to put too much work, stress on your kidneys. That's why excessive water is not that good.
Wow.
Some would say, okay, so some usually give a range of, I think, about 5 to 9 or 8 glasses a day. I would say that is relative because the temperature of the day, the work you do, all counts. But you can also give yourself a range and observe the effect it has on your body. All right. Thank you. Oh, then let me add one other thing. If you are somebody who wants to watch your weight, I would say eat your fruits and vegetables before your meal and then drink water before meal. There used to be this debate about do you drink water before or after meals? If you drink water before meals, you are actually going to fill your stomach with water, and then the tendency that you eat too much reduces. So you drink your water before the meal. It helps you. All right, thanks. There's so much to say, but little by little.
Thank you so much.
Frederick, we are very grateful. We are very grateful.
All right. Okay.
We are very grateful. In fact, we've put out Frederick's contact out there on the platform. So if anyone else wants to contact him, personally as well, he's available for consultation. Like he said, he's a nutritionist, not a dietitian. So if you're contacting him, it's a nutritional issues and not dietitianal issues. So Frederick, we are very grateful. Half of me, I wish that this COVID will allow us to go back to our YAF keep fit because some of us the fat.
No, please. I don't even want to hear that about COVID and then keeping fit in your own bedroom.
No. Exercise, Jeff, every day or as much as not once a month.
Yeah, you're right too. The one of these is maybe Mark should organize a virtual exercise twice a week.
Exactly. Yeah, that helps. Motivation helps.
Jeff, just walk in your neighborhood. Walking is the best. Walk and you get all the cardio and everything that you need.
Plus the sunlight.
And then we can do Mark, you can do the aerobics on Zoom too for us to do it. Because God knows we all need it.
Yeah, we could have a session like that.
Yeah. And I guess that's like Frederick also said, the vitamin D, the sunlight too is very, very important. So as much as you can to get out there into the sun.
Do Zoom walking.
Zoom walking.
Okay. So Frederick, we are very grateful for your time. We thank you very much. These are things that we need to know about because a lot of people are going away, and some of these small things are the things that are taking us all off like that. So it's important that we have this wake-up call, and at least from what we've learned today, it's not just taking too much sugar stuff, but the other things that can lead to diabetes and other health-related issues. Frederick, thank you very much, and God bless you. So now I think we are done. Over to Joycelyn and Mark.
All right, so our exit now.
Right. God bless.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
We are grateful.
Okay, so there's really nothing. Thank you all for making it. Thank you, Brother Jeff, for making this possible. Thank you so much. So anything else will be communicated on the platform as usual. Thank you so much, Mark, as usual. God bless you. God bless everybody. See you on the platform.
Joycelyn, this one there, you have to organize the way the exercise fast. Oh, seriously.
Hey, Uncle Mate.
Hey,
Auntie.
Hi, Uncle.
Hey, how are you all?
fine, oh.
We are fine.
Oh, we are fine.
I've enjoyed your meetings.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Joycelyn, we have to do the aerobics and the way soon. Oh, seriously.
Yes, we hear you. Aerobics.
Because COVID has really made a lot of us putting where we are not supposed to put. So,
okay. We'll do that.
I see someone that she not so one know what